Bringing Up Father was an American comic strip created by cartoonist George McManus, distributed by King Features Syndicate. It ran for 87 years, from January 12, 1913, to May 28, 2000. Many readers, however, simply call the strip Jiggs and Maggie, after its two main characters. According to McManus, he introduced these same characters in other strips as early as November 1911. Characters and story. The humor centers on an immigrant Irishman named Jiggs, a former hod carrier who came into wealth in the United States by winning $1 million in a sweepstakes. Now nouveau riche, he still longs to revert to his former working-class habits and lifestyle. His constant attempts to sneak out with his old gang of boisterous, rough-edged pals, eat corned beef and cabbage and hang out at the local tavern were often thwarted by his formidable, social climbing harridan of a wife, Maggie, the lovely young daughter, Nora, and infrequently the lazy son Ethelbert, later known as just Sonny. The strip deals with lace-skirt and Irish, with Maggie as the middle-class Irish-American desiring assimilation into mainstream society in counterpoint to an older, more raffish, shanty-Irish sensibility represented by Jiggs. Her lofty goal, frustrated in nearly every strip, is to bring Father up to upper-class standards, hence the title, Bringing Up Father. The occasional malapropisms and left-footed social blunders of these upward mobiles were gleefully lampooned in vaudeville, popular song, and formed the basis for Bringing Up Father. The strip presented multiple perceptions of Irish Catholic ethnics during the early 20th century. Through the character Jiggs, McManus gave voice to their anxieties and aspirations. Varied interpretations of McManus's work often highlight difficult issues of ethnicity and class, such as the conflicts over assimilation and social mobility that second- and third-generation immigrants confronted. McManus took a middle position, which aided ethnic readers in becoming accepted in American society without losing their identity. A cross-country tour that the characters took in September 1939 into 1940 gave the strip a big promotional boost and raised its profile in the cities they visited. Jiggs and Maggie were generally drawn with circles for eyes, a feature more often associated with the latest strip, Little Orphan Annie. Topper strips. In 1913, Rosie's Bow was McManus's Sunday page, and he later revived it as a Sunday topper strip above Bringing Up Father. On April 17, 1938, an absent-minded character named Savon Platter in Rosie's Bow realized he was in the wrong place and climbed down into the first panel of Bringing Up Father, arriving in the living room of Maggie and Jiggs. In 1941, McManus replaced Rosie's Bow with Snookums, which ran as the topper above Bringing Up Father until 1956. In the final episode of HBO's The Pacific, Robert Leckie is seen reading Snookums. The Pacific is partially based on Leckie's book, Helmet for My Pillow, but there is no mention of Snookums in Leckie's book. Artists. Between 1935 and 1954, McManus's assistant Zeke Zekley made a major contribution to the strip in both writing and art. When McManus died in 1954, the strip continued with other artists, including Bill Gaviner and Frank Fletcher. Within the cartoonist community, it was expected that Zekley would take over the strip, but instead King Features replaced both McManus and Zekley with Vernon Green. With Green's death in 1965, Hal Campagna stepped in and Frank Johnson replaced Campagna in 1980. The strip's popularity faded. and Bringing Up Father limped along until its 87-year run came to a close on May 28, 2000. In 1995, the strip was one of 20 included in the comic strip classics series of commemorative U.S. postage stamps. Bringing Up Father went digital in 2007 when King Features made the strip available as one of the selections in its daily ink email package. International syndication. Bringing Up Father still enjoys popularity in Norway, known as Fiembek og Fie. The strip has been published weekly in the family journal Gemmet since 1921. A yearly Christmas book with the strip is published every year since 1930. In the last few decades, mostly reprints of material produced by McManus in the 1940s and 1950s. A similar publication was also an annual event in Sweden, where the strip is known as Jillimbom. In Turkey, the strip was published daily by Hürriyet until the late 1990s under the name Gungormuzla, with Jiggs renamed to Saban and Maggie renamed to Tonton Maggie and Jiggs in other media. Stage Gus Hill's production of Bringing Up Father opened on Broadway in 1914, with music composed by Frank H. Gray, lyrics by Elvin E. Hedges, libretto by John P. Mulgrew and Thomas Swift, choreography by Edward Hutchinson, and directed by Frank Tanhill, Jr. Hill produced many more theatrical versions of the strip that toured the country, including Bringing Up Father in Florida, Bringing Up Father on Broadway, Bringing Up Father in Ireland, Bringing Up Father abroad, and Bringing Up Father in Wall Street. Bringing Up Father at the Seashore opened on Broadway at the Manhattan Opera House in 1921, but closed after 18 performances. A revised version reopened in 1928. Another of Hill's productions of Father opened at the Lyric Theatre in 1925. Reportedly, this version had Maggie following a fleeing Jiggs from Ireland to a yacht headed for Spain, but the story was halted frequently for various vaudeville acts. The show closed after 24 performances, according to the Holloway Pages History of the Strip. Sheet music by the Susquehanna Shore. Bringing Up Father on Broadway songs include The Lotus Club, Rag, Dry Those Tears, The Fair Irene, All for a Girl, I'm Longing for a Pair of Irish Eyes. Bringing Up Father and Wall Street songs include Rose of My Heart, Somebody's Darling Boy, When That Mobile Boy Sings the Memphis Blues, The Wonderful Way You Love, I'm Free, Single, Disengaged, Looking for Someone to Love, There's No Fool Like an Old Fool, My Dixie Rose, $1 Million Smile, Just One Little Smile. Bringing Up Father songbook songs include Sweet Southern Lullaby, Dear Old-Fashioned Mother, China Doll, They'll Never Bring Up Father, Till They Tear Down Dinty Moors. Animation. The following are silent animated cartoons based on Bringing Up Father, all produced by International Film Service and released through Pathé Exchange. Father gets into the movies. Just Like a Woman, A Hot Time in the Gym, The Great Handsome Cab Mystery, Music Hath Charms, He Tries His Hand at Hypnotism, The Stimulating Mrs. Barton, Father's Close Shave, Jiggs and the Social Lion. Two Real Shorts, a series of live-action silent comedies featured comedian Johnny Ray as Jiggs, Margaret Cullington as Maggie and Laura LaPlante his daughter Nora, directed by Reggie Morris. These were produced by International Film Service and released through Pathé Exchange. Confusingly enough, a couple of the titles were duplicated from the earlier cartoons. This series included Jiggs in Society, Jiggs and the Social Lion, Jiggs Close Shave. Comic books. Bringing Up Father was a feature of David McKay's King Comics title from No. 60 to No. 135. Jiggs and Maggie Standard Comics. Jiggs and Maggie Harvey Comics. Radio sponsored by Lever Brothers. The Bringing Up Father radio series aired on the Blue Network from July 1 to September 30, 1941, starring Mark Smith as Jiggs and Agnes Moorehead as Maggie. Neil O'Malley also portrayed Jiggs. The daughter Nora was played by Helen Shields and Joan Banks. Craig McDonnell was heard in the role of Dinty Moore. The 30-minute program aired Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Feature films. The following feature-length movies were based on the strip: Bringing Up Father, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, silent comedy directed by Jack Conway, written by Francis Marion with titles by Ralph Spence, starring J. Farrell McDonald as Jiggs, Polly Moran as Maggie, Gertrude Olmsted as the daughter, and Jules Cowles and Marie Dressler as Mr. and Mrs. Dinty Moore. Victoria Clara, the first sound comedy based on the strip, although the characters are speaking Finnish, directed by filmmaker Tuvo Tullio. Bringing Up Father, Monogram Pictures, directed by Edward F. Klein and written by Klein, Barney Gerard and Jerry Warner, starring Joe Yule as Jiggs, Rennie Riano as Maggie, George McManus, Tim Ryan as the stingy and belligerent Dinty Moore, and Pat Golden as the ever-silent Duggan. The last entry produced 4 sequels, all released by Monogram: Jiggs and Maggie in Society, Jiggs and Maggie in Court, Jiggs and Maggie in Jackpot Jitters, Jiggs and Maggie Out West. The series was discontinued due to the death of Joe Yule in March 1950. Collections and reprints. Couples and Amp. Leon produced 26 semi-annual daily strip reprints in softcover books measuring 10 inches by 10. They also published 2 larger hardcover editions, Bringing Up Father, The Big Book, and Bringing Up Father, Big Book No. 2. Whitman Publishing released Bringing Up Father, A Big Little Book. Charles Scribner's Sons published a hardcover anthology, Bringing Up Father, starring Maggie and Jiggs. ISBN 0-517-167-247. Hyperion Press released a reprint volume in their Hyperion Library of Classic American Comic Strips series, available in both hardcover and paperback editions. The Celtic Book Company released Jiggs Is Back, a full-color, 64-page oversized trade paperback of Sunday strip reprints. ISBN 0-913666823. NBM reprinted the first 2 years of the daily strip as part of their Forever Nuts series. Forever Nuts presents Bringing Up Father. ISBN 1-56163-5561. IDW Publishing's Library of American Comics imprint reprinted the Cross Country Tour storyline that ran from January 1939 to July 1940 as Bringing Up Father, From Sea to Shining Sea, the first of several best-of reprint collections. ISBN 1-60010-5084. Bringing Up Father, If Cabbages and Kings. IDW Publishing's Library of American Comics 2nd volume, collecting strips from 1937 and 1938. ISBN 978-1-61377-532-5. Parodies and guest appearances. In issue 17 of Mad, Harvey Kurtzman's story, Bringing Back Father, illustrated by Will Elder and Bernard Krigstein, depicted Jiggs as the victim of domestic abuse, bruised and bleeding after physical assaults by the domineering Maggie, who has struck Jiggs with thrown kitchen utensils and crockery. When Kurtzman died in 1993, slides from this parody were shown by Art Spiegelman. Spiegelman at Kurtzman's memorial service in the Time Warner Building. In his book In the Shadow of No Towers, Spiegelman drew himself as Jiggs and his wife as Maggie. He also included a reprint of a Bringing Up Father Sunday strip. In the comic strip Arlo and Janice, Jiggs is invited to the home of Arlo and Janice for corned beef and cabbage in honor of the day. He enjoys himself immensely, and entertains his hosts with his stories, jokes and witticisms. Everyone has a happy St. Patrick's Day. In Marvel Comics Power Pack, Jiggs is the king of Elsewhere and receives a visit from Katie Power. Maggie is the queen, wiser and more powerful than the king. Jiggs and Maggie renew the friendship with Walt Wallett in Gasoline Alley by Jim Scancarelli, April 30, 2013.